Check, check, check. There we go. Very good. Okay, okay. Let's take a look here. Okay, so remember that level 3 headings will be part of the paragraph. So you can move this paragraph up to here.
The indentation, like.
Yeah, so like here, let me just do that. Is it?
Oh, it's part of the.
It's part of the paragraph, yeah.
Oh.
See? For level 3. So this is level 2, this is correct.
Mm-hmm.
Main words are capitalized. Level 3, only the first word is capitalized with a period at the end, so that's correct. But it's part of with an indentation.
Is it okay, bold?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Yes. So that's
yeah.
fine. So we have verbal communication. Okay, so we have you're just there. All right.
Not much, but
that's fine. So verbal language within dynamic activities. And you're going to have another level 3 heading, correct?
Yeah, it will be non-verbal language.
Okay.
No, verbal language within book activities, and then
okay. So do you want to talk about verbal language with book activities first, or dynamic activities first?
Well, I started talking with that.
All right.
Maybe I can.
Maybe with books first, right?
Books
Maybe
first.
kind of like.
Yeah, because I can like books do it like brief for that.
Okay.
Because with dynamic activities, I got about.
Okay. So maybe books first, briefly, and then lead into dynamic activities.
Mm-hmm.
The teachers always use certain commands when giving instructions. Are you giving the teachers pseudonyms? There are 3 teachers, right?
Yeah, for example, in dynamic activities, just 2 teachers use dynamic, and the other teacher use the book.
Okay. But you can use pseudonyms if you want. You can give them names, like not the real names, but fake names.
Like
Bob, Mary, whatever.
For the teachers?
For the teachers, if you want.
Like give names.
Right. So the first time that you say the name, if you say Mary, then put in parentheses pseudonym. Right. Pseudonym. I'll write it out here. Pseudonyms. Use pseudonyms.
I mean, instead of saying teacher 1, teacher 2,
exactly.
Teacher 3.
I see. So it'd be like this, like Mary, pseudonym, blah 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 blah. Yeah, después Mary. Right, and don't say teacher Mary, just say Mary. Yeah, yeah. So then it kind of personalizes a little bit, and then you can kind of, when you're talking about the different teachers, you get to kind of know that it's a little bit easier to keep track of. So the 3 of them, according to the data, according to which data?
The observation.
Okay.
To be more specific, on reflective observation.
Exactly. Or say like, based on what Mary said, or Mary stated that, and the dynamic activity called poster used 12 commands, okay, from which are included, you're going, which also maybe a chart with the commands. How much are you going to talk about the commands?
And like, it is.
You're going to, I want you to.
Yes, I was thinking of the chart.
I mean, you could do that if it's easier. The other activities and writing activities, 6 commands. Yeah, so maybe you can have
Because I'm
poster activity commands, writing activity, these commands, or what
like,
activity.
but the complete command, I want you to blah 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 blah, or because I was thinking how to make that.
Well, it depends on what you want to talk about. Is it important to know? I want you to write. I want you to speak. I want you to. Does it matter? Are you looking at that analysis? It depends on how much you want to analyze.
Mm-hmm. Because yes, I was.
If it's just the command, then just focus on the command. But if it's the command and what you want them to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, these were the strongest one. That you are going to. I want you to, because they included like what students had to do. So it was like I consider like the most relevant because, for example, I want you to. It was really used. I mean, was used.
Okay. By all the teachers, like 3.
Well, mostly 2, but one teacher used it a lot. But like during the whole instructions, like to say like I want you to do this and I want you to do this, like to be very precise.
Okay. All right. So I want you to. So, but you're not looking so much as like looking at. I want you to write. Like write. Are you? I want you to open your book. I want you to. Are you focusing on the command plus the verb itself, or just the command? I mean, so you can decide on. And if you decide on to include in your analysis the subsequent verb, like I want you to open your book, I want you to write a story, I want you to read, then yeah, you just decide if you want to, at what point, how much you want to include in your analysis. But you might want to do a chart, and you can, organize them either by teacher or by activity. It might be a little bit easier to follow in this first paragraph.
With the activity and all the commands that he said, just highlighting maybe.
Yeah, you just decide if it's important. It's kind of the level of what you want to analyze. Like, do you want to analyze the type of command versus what the students were asked to do, or do you just want to talk about the? So it's just a decision you need to make, and
it's more like for the teacher, like he used it in such activity. For example, I mentioned the poster because the activity in which he mentioned just times that particular command.
Okay, so then just put like poster activity, teacher, or Bob or Mary, whatever, and then those commands. Then maybe you have another activity, writing activity, and this teacher uses these types of commands, and so on. Then a table would be kind of an easy way to look and compare the types of commands versus the activity versus the teacher.
Okay.
Yeah, because you say here the variation of commands can differ depending on activity. So maybe just do a chart based on activity and the types of commands.
Maybe the activities, all the activities, or just the ones that I mentioned?
Just the one you mentioned, and just take it kind of bit by bit. Dynamic activities can either be very brief or wide. Wide, como un ejemplo.
Wide like the poster activity. I mean, like I didn't know how to like really explain that something because I mean that, for example, in the videos, the instructions are really brief, and the poster is like a full text in which I can find out of different, for example, commands.
Okay. And
the videos, there was like just 2 or 1 command.
Okay.
Really brief. So
So, or But you're not talking about the duration of the activity. Like how long it lasts?
No.
It's more about
it's
the types of
like
simple, complex, or
it's like the use of, for example, commands vary according to the length of maybe the length of the instructions. Or maybe it can be more specific.
So maybe you mentioned something like the use of commands varies depending on the type of the type of dynamic activity. Because you kind of say that in the first paragraph. I mean, I understand what you're going to say here, but then in this one, dynamic activities, or maybe merge these two sentences. The variation of commands can differ depending on the dynamic activity that is being presented. I mean, I understand that. In each class, teachers make use of great variety. The use of a series of commands during a certain activity really helps to. Okay, in this, they mostly help the teacher to be more precise about the objectives. Accomplish how the activity is supposed to be completed. This happened mostly with the first teacher who made continuous repetition. So you're linking the use of commands versus the objectives of the class?
Yeah, more like
okay.
Kind of explaining to like why they use commands, like maybe to highlight some objectives from the activity.
Did you mention any objectives from the activities?
Like in the main?
And above in the evidence. I mean, if you mentioned objectives, you might want to include two things. You can either include something about the objectives of these classes and present evidence there, or choose a slightly different way of analyzing this information. I mean, did you see any certain patterns? How many activities? There's a poster board and a written activity, correct? Poster board and a writing activity. Sorry. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Okay, see you later. So on the poster board there are 12 commands. How many commands for the written? 6. 6, I know. Are these 12 different commands or 12 occurrences where commands are given?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it says here 12, at least 12 commands used at least. And I would be more precise, like how many exactly? So,
yeah, so 12
different?
Is a total different. Not different commands from which those two types that I'm mentioning are that the law. I just mentioned the one. I want you to and you want to.
Oh, okay. So 12. So there are 12 different commands, and how many times do they give commands? I mean, do they repeat the same commands? As well?
For example, we have say I want you to divide the paper bond. Okay. I want you to divide the poster into parts. That is the repetition of almost the same command.
So are you counting that as?
And
are you counting that again, or is that?
It is like a more or less a direct repetition of the same command.
And so is that 12? So you're counting 12 like cada vez, cada. No importa si es una repetición, es frecuencia. ¿sí? O están utilizando 12 distintas, ¿sí?
No, es como cada vez. Ajá.
Okay. So how many different types of commands, if you had to categorize the types of commands, how many different types?
Okay, tenemos el another one that says, can you please get with the people publishing this?
Right. So let's just say that there's 6 or so, but you might include this in your analysis. Like one is frequency.
The analysis of it is part of the coding.
Well, the coding you probably did, no?
No, yeah, but it is separate from the coding.
Separate? No, I think you use the coding, and this will help you provide this.
Yeah, the coding helps me too.
Right.
I made a lot of analysis.
Exactly. So here, what I'm saying here is I think you can talk a little bit more, like, and even a chart, like 12 commands from a frequency, from instances. So, 12 command instances, that is, on the basis. Pues, y hicieron, no sé, 6 tipos. Y puedes hacer uno de los más comunes, así como tienes. Pero en la tabla puedes incluir, dependiendo cuántos estamos hablando, los tipos y la frecuencia. Y puedes poner también hasta qué tipo y frecuencia por tipo. Podría ser. ¿Sí? Y con la misma conectividad, ya desde ahí ver si hubo algunas influencias o observaciones sobre el uso, porque este tipo, tantos tipos aquí, con este poster board, o sí, y pienso que con una tabla, y puedes mencionar más o menos lo que tienes aquí, tal vez modificando un poco, pero hablando de las partes de la tabla más importantes, no tienes que explicar toda la tabla, pero así algunos aspectos importantes. Y en tu análisis, y ver, ok, ¿qué interpretación tienes de esta tabla? ¿Sí? Sobre los tipos de actividades, commands, cuántas veces y los tipos. ¿Sí? Okay, so este es the variation of commands can. Okay, so we have the primer párrafo, resultado, aquí es análisis. Aquí repetition, ahora repetition of information during instructions. You mentioned that he does so in order to give emphasis. Okay. Bien. También yo pienso como una tabla. Hablando de la tabla, la misma manera que estás haciendo, pero tal vez utilizando más tablas. Porque estás utilizando muchos como números, como frecuencia. También con las frases, pero así como frase, frecuencia. O frase tipo. Y try to include more direct quotes. So when you say when he mentioned, Tom mentioned it.
Como que lo mencionó muy, como que asintió más bien, porque I noticed that you use this in this way.
But you have it on your transcript, no?
Yeah. And
so with just use whatever.
Because he just said, that's right. Yes. And I mean, él asintió, entonces I don't know how to mention that.
Okay. So you can say when asked about X, he he agreed or he replied. See?
Okay, yeah. I want to make like that. Yes, nothing to it. Agree.
Yeah. And then the second teacher did not use any sort of repetition. Now, the second teacher didn't use repetition in his writing activity?
No, this was,
or was it another
actually
activity?
both activities are from the first.
Okay.
Yeah. And
so, what activity did the second teacher?
The second teacher did a game. A game, sort of games, vocabulary games.
So maybe mention the type of activity, since you mentioned the type of activity for the other teacher. So, what type of activity?
Yeah, because it was like a game.
Because maybe how much is the teacher and how much is it comes from the activity, and you want to see if you can understand any patterns. Is it
like
more the teacher or is it more about the activity?
Separating the teacher and the activity?
Well, yeah, I mean, just include like if you're going to talk about teacher and activity with teacher A, do the same with teacher B, so you're consistent. So if it doesn't make any difference what activity, then just talk about the teacher, but just try to be consistent whenever you're comparing the different teachers there. So here we have, let's see, but instead he repeated the instructions while switching to another time. So I think this paragraph can provide maybe a table also. Yeah.
And the table will be right after the paragraph?
I think so. Yeah, or you can mix it within, as long as the paragraph, the text below, you don't indent.
Oh. Yeah.
So just try to bring it fairly close to where you say, see table 1, see table 2. Okay.
Like right after I mentioned information.
Yeah.
Like in the appendix. That we mentioned the appendix right away. We say appendix.
Right. Yeah. And then you mention at the beginning, and then you can talk about the table. Okay. So repetition seems to work now, I believe. So yeah. Do you have any information from students, or is it just teachers?
No, just teachers. It's like, well.
So let me just draw your attention to this. You say here,
Yeah,
gives more confidence to students. Now, since you don't have evidence of that, if you have a citation of an author or an expert saying that, then this would be a good time, I think, to include the citation. What we don't want to do is discuss too much, make too much of what's not there. Stick to the evidence, right? And since we didn't really talk to the students, we don't know for sure.
I mean, only if I have some evidence in the literature review, like
yeah, and or in your own research.
Obviously. I could use also a quotation from a teacher in the analysis.
No, direct quotes will be evidence. Yeah. But my point here is, since we don't have any evidence from the students, we don't know for sure.
I should avoid.
Yeah, but if you find an author that says that, then you can link it and say, okay, this is giving confidence to the students.
I mentioned that after, it's like right after. A quote that I mentioned in the review is that all the teachers are constantly asked to repeat it, which didn't happen.
Okay.
And then they are not being explicit enough. That's what I wanted, like, to get, like, therefore explicitness is happening during the instructions that the teacher did.
Right, and anytime they use, in this case, repetition, is there anything that you observed that prompted them to repeat more. Questions from the students, or any other clues that might be indicators as to why they repeated, or is it just their teaching style? So if there's anything in the observations that you can add there. Okay. You get the idea. I think you can add a few tables, especially in your case with all the numbers and frequency. And you're making a good distinction between the evidence and the analyze. So, but I think the tables might help kind of understand these key phrases that you're looking at and dividing up into types and activities. So you have teacher type, right? You have teacher, and then you have the types of activities. Feature B, how many activities did you observe?
I observed some, but I like from the majority. Some of them are like super.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you this also. I mean, this part of, well, I made a code separate
Right.
with it. Should I include this also in the coding? Like, because this is separate from the coding I did for verbal and non-verbal. The codes can be like.
You probably, do you have non-verbal and verbal here?
In another document.
So I would add them all together in one list.
In one list, but is that easier?
Yeah. Yeah. But I would include one list that has all the codes that you use for research.
Yes, I
But that's the idea.
have one. These are the
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's it.
And well,
That's it.
and I have the verbal.
That's good. Wow, yeah.
Because since it is from dynamic and book, obviously the number of dynamic and
Right. Okay. See, and the idea here with these tables here, you might be able to use the same tables that you talked about in the verbal communication, and then use the exact same table later and add a column for nonverbal.
Yes.
So it's basically
because I not like in the other I make like some analysis like in the commands what kind of nonverbal did they use.
Right, so then the reader's already going to be familiar with the first table. So you just add the second table, same format, and you just add a column for nonverbal. That's what it can be a little bit more, I think, coherent.
There's also coming along because I have in the last research question at the how they relate. Maybe these tables can help like to see the relationship.
I think so. Yeah.
I explained that.
Right.
Can make the link.
And it can be related to either per teacher or per activity or per command, like the nonverbal. I mean, you can look at it in any of those perspectives. Right? And see if there are any patterns with regard to those three relationships. Yeah. I mean, essentially, you're looking for relationships even from verbal communication between the teacher and the activity and the commands. And so, yeah. So I think, yeah, I mean, this is, what you have is good. I think we can dig just a little bit deeper into some other aspects, and I think the table will help you communicate that, to the reader. Okay. What else? Any other doubts, questions?
Yeah, I have about the appendix because I haven't updated. Well,
okay.
I have it updated like in the Word document, but I have a question. It says at a level 2 fitting for each instrument, like how do I do it? I did it this way, but I don't know level 2 right here? Right.
Yeah, I would add it right here.
Okay.
Like, so appendix A would be level 1, and then right below appendix A, level 2. Like right here. Right below appendix A.
Again, appendix A?
No, the title of your.
The title of the.
So, question, whatever. Teacher
The
questionnaire. In the space, and then.
But this is okay?
Está bien. Vamos agregando un level 2 aquí.
The name of the.
Teacher questionnaire o lo que sea.
Oh.
Y así, pues, igual. Sí, para cada uno sirve. Yeah. This is okay though, pretty much. Yeah. So yeah, just insert it there.
Okay. Okay.
Do you have any questions about anything else?
No.
About the results of discussion or the abstract, introduction, conclusion? I uploaded an announcement describing that, but it's basically what we did last semester. So, and we'll have time to work on that next week. So just try to focus on primarily finishing up this approximately 2,250 words.
Yeah.
We want to try to allow 250 words for the conclusion for next week.
Yeah, because some of my classes were telling me that they had 200 and 500. Just
Yeah.
what about the conclusion?
Yeah. So you can kind of scale it back a little bit so not to have too many words.
Okay.
And what else? Questions about the dates, due dates, or?
Well, so far, I'm pretty aware of that.
Okay. Very good. All right. Well,
Thank you.
we'll see you. When's our tutoring?
Friday.
On Friday. Okay. So I'll talk to you on Friday, and whatever you have, we'll look at and give feedback. We'll go from there.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. See you later. Bye.